A little while ago I put up a tutorial on how to slice and chop audio within Studio One 3, and I happened to check out the video a couple of days ago, and I wasn't really happy with it because I felt like it was pretty convoluted and full of technical gibberish, and it just kind of went on for more than 20 minutes, and I wanted to redo the video and show a really quick way that we can bring in any audio or song into Studio One 3 and sample it how we'd like within a matter of seconds. And while this description may take a few minutes to go through, once you understand how it's done and you do it a few times, it should take you less than a minute to bring in any audio and sample it how you'd like. Now, I've seen other sampling videos and people will use commercial music, but I'm not sure what the YouTube copyright rules are, so I'm just going to use one of my own songs just so I can avoid any strikes. I'm going to come to my Files tab and select a song here. This is an older song from about 10 years ago. And as you can see down here in the information panel, there is no BPM data encoded on this file. And so if you are going to be doing some sort of traditional sampling where you're hooking up a record player, or even if you get a song from online, it's most likely not going to have that metadata included where the tempo of the song is there. And we'll go ahead and bring our track into Studio One, and I'm going to open up the inspector, and this is important, the tempo mode. You want to be sure that you put this on don't follow if we're going to be using tap tempo to find out what the tempo is. I'll close out the inspector. If you don't do that, then otherwise your audio event here is going to keep moving around as you are tapping the tempo here in the transport. Now I'll close out the browser. So the first and most important step, we're going to find out what the tempo is of our song that we brought in. So I'm just going to start playback and then tap along. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. So it looks like this is about 80 beats per minute. If you work in double time, then you can just double that count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, at double time we're getting 160, so that makes sense, but I'm just going to go ahead and choose 80, and we've now got the most important step done. So we'll come back to the beginning here. Let's expand out a bit and come to the beginning. And so I'm going to get rid of this silence here and pull it right to the beginning of the beat. This song just happens to start off with a bass drum, so that's going to work well. And it's going to be important that you spend a bit of time, and it doesn't have to be forever, but just be sure that you've got that right on the beat there. That will just help you out in the long run. So we've got that pulled to our beat. Now we pretty much should be good to go as far as our tempo. I'll turn on the click track. Okay, yeah, so we are spot on, and then we can, if I just move this up to bar 2, and we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. You can take whatever part you want, because at this point we've got everything matched up, so whatever you're working with, just, you're free to choose anywhere. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to take these first 4 bars. So I'll press 3 and bring up the slice tool, and come to 6 here, and then I'll cut. And let's just move some of this away here, and we'll take a listen back. Okay, so it's perfect. Now, at this point, all we need to do is select that, and we need to pay attention to our quantized value. It's on half note right here. And what we're going to do is slice it according to our quantized value. And whatever sort of slices you want, then you just want to choose here. I will choose, I'll leave it at half actually, and then we can just right click and come to event, and then we'll come over to split at grid. And just remember, whatever you have set as your quantized value, it's going to split at that value. So now our audio is split up into events, and we've got our samples. And we can then load these into whatever sample that we'd like to use. Just to continue on with this most simplest of ways, I'm going to right click while they're all selected, and then I will send to new sample 1. And then now each of those slices is then mapped on the keyboard here and set to its own root note. So if you take note here, as I select, you're going to see that change. The root note is set for each one, and in this way it's not going to be pitched up. They each have their own root note. So then we start on C3. If I were to come to C3 on my keyboard, and you'll see on the virtual keyboard here how I'm playing and how this plays back. So I'll just play 1. Okay, so you can hear that sample, and then I'm just going to play up the keyboard so you can hear that these are mapped out and we can play them on our keys. Okay, so I'm playing this a little bit choppy, but you get the idea. All of our samples are loaded into sample 1, and we can then, we're pretty much done. I mean, this is what we wanted to do. Now, when these are loaded, these seem to be okay as far as clicks and pops, but if you notice here on this first one, we've got a bit of audio there at the end, and that can be a pop. If we come to the end, then we can just get rid of that. So let's see if any of these other ones have any clicks. So this one does, and we can see it here in our display. We can then just drag that back out. So now it's gone. And the rest of these look pretty clean, except for this last one. Okay, so that is the quick method, and you can see that once you've done this a few times, you should be able to do this in less than a minute. But what if we don't want to use sample 1? What if we would like to use, say, a drum device? Well, we could use the impact here. If I bring up impact, move this to the side, select all of our samples, and then I'll drag this in. I think it loads from bottom up. I may need to redo this. Okay, no, we're in business. So now okay, so you can see that they're all in there, and I'm just going to go ahead and use my external controller to play these back. Okay, so my playing back is a little bit choppy, but you get the idea. Now we've got it in a drum sampler. What if you want to use a third-party sampler? Well, when we bring those into sample 1 and impact, in the background, Studio One creates, it renders these sliced audio events down into individual audio files. So if we were to come to the pool by pressing F10, then we can see this is our original song that we brought in. And then here are the bounce down slices here that we've got. These sliced up audio events, they were rendered down when we brought it into sample 1 and impact. And for simplicity's sake, I'm going to remove these from the pool. So I'll select that bottom one, hold shift and select the other one. We'll right click and then remove from pool. And then now we will select these, and what you need to do if you want to use it in a third-party VST and you haven't gone to the step of loading it into one of Presonus's VSTs where it's going to in the background bounce those down, we then can right-click, choose bounce to new track. Okay, and then you can see now we have those that are created. And we've got 18 through 25 here. So I'll select the first one, hold down shift and select the other one, right click, show in our Explorer or Finder on the Mac. And that's 18 through 25. I'll hold down shift and select those. Then let me close out our pool, open up battery, come to our Explorer window. While these are selected, I'm going to drag and just put this on top, close out of our Explorer, and now all of our sounds are loaded into the Impact drum sampler. And then if I were to play back on my external controller, I first need to direct MIDI to the battery. So apparently I'm horrible at playing back samples, and actually it's not that I'm horrible, it's that I have a really high latency right now because I'm actually going through the Windows audio and using my sound card on my laptop. So that's why it's hard for me to play back right now. But we can see that our samples are now loaded into a third-party sampler, and still, even if we were going to use this method, it would take a very short period of time, even with that extra step of bouncing them down to a new track and then grabbing them from our Explorer window. So now you've seen these straightforward ways in that we can bring in a song and sample it. There's now a few other things that I want to mention that can be helpful. We'll take a look at those now. So I'm actually going to grab all of these and just get them out of the way. Bring in this other portion that we had moved out earlier on, and I'm just going to put that on bar 2. So one other thing that I want to talk about is if we open up the inspector by pressing F4, we can see that with our event selected, I'll go ahead and bring this up top. Even though we found what the tempo for this song is, it's still not embedded or contained. Where am I at here? Within our audio event. So we could actually come in, put in 80, and assign 80 beats per minute to this audio event, and then now we could come up to the top here, and if I play back, okay, so it's playing back as normal. If we change this then to time stretch, we could then even change our song tempo, say to 100, and then play back. And I'll just turn off the click track. So now we have another level of control of this song that we brought in once we've assigned that BPM information to it. and then back to our original 80. Okay, so you can see that this adds another level of flexibility, and one other thing to keep in mind is that if you're going to use the time stretch, you want to be sure that you have the time stretch algorithm chose correctly. So right now we're on drums. It's a drum heavy track, so that should be fine. But if you're working with something else, if you're working with polyphonic material, you'll want to choose polyphonic. If you've got a solo part, say I don't know, a trumpet or a vocal, then you want to choose that. If you're going to work with bend markers, then you'll want to choose the audio bend. And speaking of bend markers, let's move on to another thing here, and that is, well, we do have the option to come in and manually add these slices wherever we'd like. We went into the menu to do that and used our quantize value, but of course we can just press F3, bring up our slice tool, and then right now my snap to grid is on, so we're snapping. If I change this to quarter notes, we are snapping to quarter. We can also turn the snap off and then really come down in here and chop wherever we'd like and get the portions of the audio that we would really like to cut out. If I were to turn snap back on and then say cut here at bar 7, let's select this piece here, get that out of the way. We could also, while this is selected, come to our bend panel. That's strip silence. We want bend panel, and then analyze. And then we're going to get these bend markers. We could take the threshold down. And we could then choose slice, apply, and then that's going to slice up our audio as well. So that's yet another way. You don't have as much control if you were to do it manually, but it's just yet another method that you can use. And if you have auto fades checked, then you're going to see these tiny fades that are created to help avoid any pops or clicks within these sliced up audio events. And I'm going to Control Z and undo all of that. Let's close out our bend panel, zoom back out a bit. Now, one other last way that I'll cover here is if I turn snap off, we could use our slice tool, playback. Let's actually make this a bit larger. We could play back and then just add our slices while it's playing back. So you can see you can just come in and wherever you feel like you want to add that slice, just go ahead and do that. And then now we have all of these sliced up, and we can send them to sample 1, bounce them down, and bring them into our own third-party sampler, or do whatever we'd like. I'm hoping that this is a bit straightforward than the other video. I think there are more details in the other one, so if you'd like to check that one out as well, I'll leave a link here. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.